What's up, Sen Squad? Welcome back to another Brawl Stars video. Today is going to be a very important video for many of you. I think we're going to be talking about how to push with randoms. A bit of a touchy topic, I know. A lot of people always complain about how bad randoms are sometimes in Brawl Stars, but there are plenty of things you can do to minimize the variance all around and just be able to push trophies a lot more consistently and get your brawlers up really high even if you don't have an organized team to play with. Personally, I push mainly with randoms. I've gotten brawlers up to 800 and 850 trophies. Could I have gotten higher than that? Probably, but did I have enough time to go higher than that? Not really, but it's definitely possible to get to high trophy ranks with randoms as long as you ensure that you're using these strategies to push consistently. So the first and I think the most important tip that I have for pushing with randoms is that if you ever get matched with teammates who are better than average and their brawler choices pair really well with the brawler that you are running, you have to play again. And this play again button is so crucial if you are pushing with randoms, because if you just go in with truly random teammates every single time, on average, right, half of your games you're going to have above average randoms and half of your games you're going to have below average players. So there are going to be a lot of games where, because you have bad teammates, it's just going to be a lot harder to win that game. And so even if you are better than the majority of players at your trophy level, it can sometimes be hard to carry your team consistently when you're not going to have consistently good players on your team. So if you play again when you have good randoms, then for those next few games you're just going to guarantee that you have better than average teammates. And when you consistently have better than average teammates, you're going to have a better than average win rate, and so you're going to be able to push up to higher trophy ranks. If you always try to play again whenever possible, whenever you get teammates who are good, and then that alone is going to help you see an increase in the amount of trophies you're getting. But there's plenty of other smaller things you can do during the game to increase your win rate as well. So it's really important to read the cues that your teammates are making. Things like spinning or just standing right in front of you are pretty clear cues that they want you to pass the ball to them. So obviously, since you can't communicate, these things are really important so that way you can put together strategies and pass the ball and get it in the goal if you're playing Brawl Ball. Other modes, obviously, this doesn't apply since you're not passing the ball to anyone, but usually if they're spinning or doing some sort of movement like that, they want you to pay attention to them and either follow them, support them, things like that. So make sure to pay attention to those, because that's basically the only way that you can communicate with these randoms in the middle of a game. Now, while you can pay attention to these things, for pretty much everything else, you never want to assume they're going to know what to do. If you're playing Brawl Ball and you leave one teammate to defend the goal and you think they should have a really good matchup so it should be pretty easy for them to defend, that's not a good assumption to make, because the way you play the game and the way maybe you would tell your teammates to play the game is not going to be the same way that this person is going to play the game, and they might know things differently than you, so they might not actually be able to defend. So it's always better to stay on the safe side and just play defensively yourself. So no matter what, even if your randoms make stupid mistakes or don't know the same things you do, you will always be a backup there to ensure that nothing goes completely wrong. Just playing safe and never going too aggressive and absolutely relying on your randoms to win the game, that's going to make you play a lot more consistently, because safety is essentially consistency when it comes to Brawl Stars. And another important tip along these lines is that if you're ever near someone in Brawl Ball and they're a bit in front of you and you want to pass the ball to them because you think maybe they'll be able to make a goal, but they're in the middle of a battle, never pass it directly to them, because maybe they might be in a situation where if they just get one or two last shots in, they can kill the person in front of them and then they'll have a free shot on the goal, which is obviously a really good situation. So they might not want you to pass the ball to them, but you can't really tell that, and sometimes it's hard to evaluate their situation when you have your own fight that's going on where you're at too. So never just pass it directly to them. What you want to do is, if possible, pass it directly in front of them so that if they want to, they can walk forward and quickly pick up the ball and do what they want with it. But if they don't want to, then they won't be forced to waste an ammo to kick the ball somewhere else. And it's things like this that are extremely helpful because you can't communicate with them. So the best thing you can do is just play it safe and let them determine what they want to do in that situation, rather than getting unlucky and you having a different strategy than they have and messing everything up because of it, right? In a normal competitive game, you would be able to talk this out, but playing with randoms on ladder is not a competitive game, so you don't want to play it like you would a normal competitive game. You just want to play as safely as possible and make sure you account for all possible situations and don't assume that your randoms are going to do what you think they're going to do. Another tip that I think is just really, really important is to never, ever stop playing in the middle of a match. Even if there's like 10 seconds left in the game and your opponents just scored, it is still perfectly possible to make a goal in that time. There are plenty of brawlers who can dash forward, increase their speed, or even just tank a lot of shots and just run directly towards the ball and go straight for a super shot on the goal or something like that. There is always a chance that you can make a goal. Now, if there's like 2 seconds left, okay, you don't have to move. But even just the slightest amount of time, you always want to keep playing. There have been plenty of games where I have won because I push it into overtime by making a goal in those last 10 or 15 seconds. That's just slowly decreasing my win rate. And if you don't do all these things, they're just going to add up and you're going to have a significantly lower win rate than you actually could if you just made sure to stick it out in these games. And even if it's not a time issue, if one of your teammates goes AFK and they're just not doing anything, they're standing there, or if someone makes a mistake and someone else on your team gives up, even in those situations, you just want to ignore them, don't get mad about it, and just continue playing the game. It's perfectly possible to win a 2v3 or even a 1v3. That happens. And if you also quit the game when your teammates do something like that, then you're just completely throwing away any possibility of you winning that game. All it's doing is ensuring that you're not going to push as many trophies. You're going to have a lower win rate if you do it, so it doesn't hurt anyone except yourself. And if your opponents do make mistakes, even really obvious or big mistakes, don't do anything about it. Just keep playing, try to push past those mistakes and still see if you can come out with a win. Because if you instantly give up whenever those happen, you're just going to lose that game guaranteed. Not to mention, everyone is going to make mistakes. I still make plenty of huge mistakes now and then, but if you just keep playing, it won't really matter and you're going to learn from those mistakes either way. So you can choose to either automatically lose that game or to just continue playing and still have a chance of gaining trophies. And another really important thing is after the game's over, you really want to just think about the plays you made in that game and what you could have done better, especially if you lost. What could you have done to prevent the opponents from completing their winning strategy? Even if you think your teammates played absolutely horribly and you played near perfect, there is always going to be something that you did wrong and something you could have done to stop the opponents from scoring. Even if that thing is completely taking on the entire team in a 1v3, that's something that you just have to do and you need to learn to do it better. And blaming a lot of your losses on your opponents isn't going to help you do that. So every game, always think about what you could have done better. Even if you won, what could you have done so that you could have won by more? Were there any close situations in the game that could have not been close if you had played it better, maybe played it safer, or not gone for a really crazy play? If you keep thinking about these things, overall, you're just going to get better playing at the game and better playing with people who may or may not be good at the game. And then the final tip I have is to just know when to stop playing. Everyone gets tired or tilted once in a while, and you just keep getting losses and you're not really in the zone anymore. It always happens, but just know when you're in that position. Maybe set like a maximum loss streak. If you lose 4 or 5 games in a row, just tell yourself that you're going to stop, and that's just going to prevent you from losing a ton of trophies at one time, because that sort of bad mindset can really snowball and just make you lose a ton of games in a row. And you don't even have to stop playing the game. You can just switch brawlers and chill out playing a low trophy brawler, but it's definitely important to know when to stop. And that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found it extremely helpful. Don't forget to join the Send Squad by subscribing, turning on your notifications, and going to your settings and enabling notifications there as well, because otherwise the notifications won't work, and that's bad. But that's all for today, guys, so see you later.